What's up, Kings fans? We're here, we're drinking beers, and we're talking about your Sacramento Kings. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Royal Rebounds Podcast with Calvin and Barry. That's okay, we're not talking about Ben Simmons today, so everybody relax. We are here talking about Marvin Bagley and what to expect from him this upcoming season. But before we get into that, Calvin, what are we drinking today?
Today we are drinking the Pauhana Pilsner from Maui Brewing Company in beautiful Maui, Hawaii, continuing our Hawaii-themed beer extravaganza. Very nice classic Pilsner. Delicious.
Delicious beer. And I want to remind you all, Calvin and I are putting out fun things in a Kings jersey. We spent our summer in Maui jumping off things, having a great time. That video will be out in the next week, so make sure you stay tuned. Also want to remind you all to please like this video. If you want to join the Royal family, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. And if you want to find out when Calvin and I put out a new video, make sure you hit that cowbell down below as well.
That's right. Hit it hella times.
Hit it hella times. All right, Calvin, I'm going to let you start out today. So we're going to talk about expectations for Marvin Bagley, assuming he doesn't get traded for this upcoming season.
You know, the Kings have looked to move Marvin Bagley. They haven't found a suitor for him, much like the Sixers haven't found a suitor for Ben Simmons. But it's becoming more and more realistic that Marvin Bagley will start the 2021 season as a member of the Sacramento Kings. And it's fair to wonder or ask what the Kings are going to get out of him. He's in a pivotal moment in his career. This is a contract year. This is the expiration of his rookie deal. This is going to be the second contract that he signs in the NBA. There's been a lot of interesting news with him in the offseason over his recent exit strategy, if you will, on social media from Sacramento and from the Kings, suggesting that he doesn't really want to be there anymore. However, if he's going to start the year there, it's an important season for him. He's got to show out so that he can get paid next year. And it's an important year for the Kings, too, because they're in the middle of this rebuild. They're on the upswing. They've gotten all these high draft picks, young talent. And, you know, you have to expect that Marvin is going to be in the starting lineup for this team this season at either the power forward or maybe even center, depending on how they decide to run the rotation. So it's a fair question to ask, what is fair to expect from Marvin Bagley this season? He's been the model of consistency since he's entered the NBA, despite the fact that he hasn't been consistent in the number of games he has played for Sacramento. Injuries have plagued his career early on, 3 years in. But when he's been on the floor, it's been very predictable what to expect of him. His numbers are pretty much identical every season, whether he's been a starter, whether he's come off the bench, whether he's been injured. He's pretty much averaged 14 points, 7 rebounds a game for his entire career. His shooting percentage has steadily, slowly improved, especially from three. He shot 34% from three last year, which is by far the best in his career. And he really, really excelled in that corner three spot, kind of like a PJ Tucker sort of a player. Barry, what do you expect from Marvin Bagley this year?
Given what we do know about Marvin, unfortunately, we probably are going to expect an injury this season. And it hurts me to say that because I do want Marvin to play a whole season. I do want him to produce for the Sacramento Kings. Obviously, he is the most talented person at the power forward position that this team can offer. He's a number 2 overall pick, and we've seen flashes of greatness out of him. That second jump is truly incredible. That motor that he has is awesome. He just unfortunately hasn't been able to stay healthy, and he hasn't been able to play more than 25 minutes a game. I, for one, would love to see Marvin succeed this next year. I think he's going to have a good season. But it's really gonna be on him. It's gonna be how healthy that he can stay, how many minutes he can stay on the court, and whether he'll be able to improve on those averages. As you mentioned, 3-point percentage. He shot about 30% his first year, had a dip in the second year to like 18%, jump right back up last year, sorry. So we can expect to have some improvements from him on the 3-point shooting this upcoming season. It's really going to be on him and how healthy he can stay. Seeing guys like Luka Doncic and Trae Young signing these big extensions this offseason has definitely got a light of fire underneath him. Having people like his dad in his corner saying that he should do this and he should do that, that stuff wears on you. But, all the power is in the Kings' court. He's still signed for another year. The Kings can offer him a qualifying offer at the end of the season, $14 million, which would make him a restricted free agent. So all the power is with the Kings at this point. But Marvin simply needs to show up. He simply needs to do his job, and he needs to perform. And I think if he's able to contribute to this Kings team, if he's able to start more than 50 games this upcoming season, I think that puts the Kings in a great position and on that path back towards the playoffs.
I agree with everything that you said. To me, you hit the nail on the head when you talked about minutes per game played. He has averaged 25 minutes a game played every year he's been in the league. And that second year, he only played 13 games, still averaged 25 minutes a game in those 13 games, and put up the same numbers that he put up in much more games played in the other 2 seasons that he was in the league. So for me, it's really his relationship with Coach Walton, and that goes a long way. You mentioned the off-the-court stuff, his dad being a factor maybe in his playing time or his mental awareness, his attitude towards being a member of the Kings, being on this team. And another thing that I'm really looking at is, the Kings, Marvin Bagley is not a great defender. He showed flashes or little pieces of playing good defense to me last season. I thought he got off to a really good start last year, and I was kind of confused as to why he was being put on the bench in the fourth quarter. But Coach Walton was really... He really doubled down on that 3-guard lineup with Corey Joseph, Tyrese Haliburton, and De'Aaron Fox. And now you take out Corey Joseph and you add a guy like Davion Mitchell, who could potentially bring even more to that 3-guard lineup, which might mean that Marvin Bagley is the odd man out again. It's up to him. It's a contract year for him, so he's really got to bring it every night. And the Kings have made a lot of moves that have improved on paper their defensive ability. Now, defense on paper means absolutely nothing. It's all about effort and buying in as a team. So I still, there's a lot to be seen still and a lot to be done on that side of the court. We're coming off the worst statistic defensive season in NBA history. I know no Kings fan wants to hear that over and over again, but it's true. I do think that Marvin Bagley has an opportunity here to be a solid contributor to this team. And if he's going to work himself more into the lineup, playing alongside guys like Tyrese Haliburton, De'Aaron Fox, and even Davion Mitchell, he showed that he could stand in the corner, be that guy to space the floor, hit that corner 3, and if he can hit it with consistency, 35%, 36%, there's going to be a great opportunity for him to contribute to this team on the offensive end, and hopefully he buys in on defense as well. I think he can, and like I said, I think the team will be improved defensively this year, so that's going to help hide any type of defensive inefficiency or inabilities from everybody on the team, not just Marvin Bagley. I think the Kings as a team are going to be improved overall this year. There's a real opportunity for him. But I really do think it comes down to his relationship with Coach Walton, whether or not he's going to buy in completely to this team. And, best or worst case scenario, I guess we'll get into that here. What's your best case scenario for Marvin Bagley this season? Not just, I guess, statistics, but does he re-sign with the Kings at the end of the year?
So I don't really think it's up to Marvin Bagley at this point. Like I said, the Kings have all the momentum in this. They have all the power. They can make him a restricted free agent, meaning if anybody offers him a contract, they can match it if they need to. But just looking here at the stats over the last 3 years, the thing that really stands out for me is year 3. He started 42 out of 32 games. The 2 years before that, he started a combined 10 games. Obviously, the confidence in the coaching staff was not with Marvin Bagley. This year, or this last year, it seems like it changed a little bit. Bringing in a guy like Doug Christie, who's a defensive-oriented guy, who talked a lot about Marvin Bagley last year and had a lot of good things to say about Marvin Bagley. I feel like Doug Christie is going to push a guy like Marvin to be a little bit better. Having a guy like Davion Mitchell on the court with better on-ball defense is going to make Marvin Bagley as a help defender a lot easier. And I think it's going to allow him to play a lot more freely on the offensive end. My best case scenario for Marvin Bagley is that he starts maybe 60 games next year. I think he's capable of 20 and 10. I know that may sound like a stretch considering he's averaged 14 and 7 the last few years, but he's only played 25 minutes.
His per 36-minute stats are 20 and 10 also. So
Yeah. So
I'm not saying he's going to play 36 minutes a game, but...
Yeah, so I feel if Marvin Bagley can be healthy this next season, he'll play upwards of 30 minutes, potentially 35, 36 minutes, and he'll be able to reach that 20 and 10 stat, which is very elusive for big men in this today's league. People would love to have a 20 and 10 big man.
Absolutely.
Even if he didn't play defense. You look at a guy like Jokic, not a great defender, but great on the offensive end. Great distributor. Obviously, they don't need that out of Marvin Bagley, but a little bit more boards per game, a little bit more points per game would really help out this squad. So for me, best case scenario, Marvin's healthy, starts about 60 games, 20 and 10, maybe a block, maybe a steal a game.
Well, starting 60 games would be fantastic if that's what you could get out of him this year, and we certainly hope that he's healthy through the whole season and that he's able to contribute in that way. This is a big year for Marvin, and let's be frank, I mean, he could very well be traded midway through the season. There's no guarantee that he's going to finish the season in Sacramento. This is a big training camp for him. He's got to come in focused and ready to go, even if he doesn't want to play for Sacramento. Mm-hmm. He has to show up engaged and ready to play because you've got to give yourself trade value if you want to be traded, right? It can't just be that the Kings say, well, we're trying to trade Marvin Bagley, but nobody else wants him. That's sort of the same situation that Ben Simmons is in somehow. I still don't really understand that whole aspect, but Marvin Bagley has it way worse than Ben Simmons does. Ben Simmons got paid already. Marvin Bagley hasn't been paid. So this is a big training camp for him. He's got to show that he is the starting power forward on this team. The Kings improved their bench. They got guys like Mo Harkless and Alex Len who could very easily take minutes away from him if he doesn't show up and play well early on in the year. And, the one question mark that I have for Marvin Bagley is there are a lot of difficult power forwards to guard in the Western Conference. And that is the one thing that he really struggles with the most. So who's the matchup going to be? You're going to want Richaun Holmes to guard certain players depending on the matchup. When they played teams like Denver, for instance, last year, Marvin Bagley got matched up with Jokic a lot. And he played well in short spurts against him, but over the course of a full game, a guy like Jokic is just going to wear him down. And he's not going to be the type of guy that you want to guard Anthony Davis. He can't really switch and play guys on the perimeter for extended periods of time. So I'm really interested to see how the lineups play out, particularly because last year he was on the bench in the fourth quarter a lot. Is Davion Mitchell going to steal minutes from Marvin Bagley because he can come in and guard bigger guys? He can guard two guards, maybe even small forwards in this league. We saw it with Cade Cunningham in college, so training camp is a couple weeks away, and I hope Marvin Bagley's been working out, and I hope he comes ready to play.
Real quick, guys, make sure you hit that like button down below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and go ahead and forward this video to any Kings fans you may know, anyone that wants to join the Royal family. If you're interested in the awesome Kings apparel, make sure you visit royalrebounds.com/shop. The link is down below in the description if you'd like to support the channel. So, yeah, talking about Marvin Bagley here, it is a make it or break it year for him. You know, he has to do something this year. Otherwise, he is going to head off in this weird qualifying offer. Do I take it? Do I not take it? Do I end up playing for a team for 1 year to kind of prove myself and make sure I'm worth it? It's a really weird year for Marvin Bagley. And a number 2 former overall pick. He's got everything to prove. I know Kings fans are just waiting here, wishing that Marvin will produce for us. So I'm kind of in the same boat here. I'm sitting back. I'm waiting. I'm saying, Marvin, you show me what you can do. We'd love to have you on the team in the future, but we got to see what you can do. We need you to be healthy. We need you to stay consistent. And you could be a piece for this team pushing towards the playoffs next year.
Yes, absolutely. That's my best case scenario for Marvin Bagley this year. It's also a best case scenario for the Kings, is that he comes out, he plays well, maybe he averages 18 points a game, 8 rebounds, 9 rebounds, something like that. He becomes a reliable piece on offense. He works really well in the pick and roll with this 3-guard set that they're going to constantly be rotating in and out. And the Kings make the playoffs, and he gets a little taste of that. And maybe that helps him buy further into Sacramento. It helps him buy further into Coach Walton,
like
whether or not Coach Walton is the future for the Kings. But, you know, it, like you said, it's all on him. He's got to come ready to play. And even though you mentioned that the Kings have the upper hand in this whole negotiation or this whole stance because they have him under contract, because he's going to be met with a qualifying offer as a restricted free agent. You know, he hasn't done much to garner any attention from other teams necessarily. If he did, he would have already been traded. So the Kings might have the upper hand, but it's not like they can really dictate how the situation plays out. The thing that is going to dictate it the most is whether or not he comes out and plays like the number 2 pick that we thought he was, or he comes out and plays about the same as he has been in the past 3 years, and it validates the decision that the Kings are going to decide to move on from him. So
honestly, it's really up to health for him. You know, looking at his stats here, he is a pretty consistent guy, but he needs to stay healthy. And if he's healthy, obviously he's going to produce a little bit more for the Kings. You look at a guy like John Collins, was unhappy with the Atlanta Hawks last year. They end up going deep into the playoffs, and he ends up re-signing with that team. I feel like if they had not gone for that far in the playoffs, John Collins would probably be on a new team this year.
Success cures a lot of ailments.
Yeah,
a lot of ailments.
He was not happy, and you know, let's not forget here, Marvin Bagley's only 22 years old, so he has a whole lifetime ahead of him of NBA action. You look at a guy like Ben Simmons, and I know many Kings fans are very tired of hearing about him. This is the last time I'm going to say Ben Simmons in this podcast.
We somehow have mentioned his name quite a bit in this podcast, even though we weren't intending to talk about him.
I'm not going to mention him anymore. You compare him to a guy like Marvin Bagley. He's already been paid. He has all the negotiation leverage on his side. Marvin Bagley does not. He's a restricted free agent next year if the Kings offer the qualifying offer. It's only $14 million. I know a lot of Kings fans would say, well, maybe Marvin's not worth $14 million. Maybe we shouldn't offer him the qualifying offer. But most of the Kings roster is already locked up next year. You're not chasing any big name free agents next year. So if you're able to go over your salary cap to re-sign a guy that you've already had on your roster, $14 million is not a lot, especially for a guy with an upside like Marvin Bagley and an ability to match any offer and potentially lock him up long term. We'll see how he plays this next season. If he ends up playing less than 20 games or so like that, if I'm the Kings, I might be second guessing myself, thinking maybe potentially I don't want to offer that. But as of right now, qualifying offer is a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, and let's be honest, the Kings, in order for them to have a really successful season, to make the playoffs, to do all these things that we want them and expect them to do, they need Marvin Bagley to play well.
Yep.
Richaun Holmes is great. I'm very, very happy that they re-signed him, but he's not the type of guy that's going to stretch the floor. As a big man, the Kings don't necessarily have that player, but Marvin Bagley has the potential to be that player. So they really, really need him to perform in that power forward role. You know, Mo Harkless can shoot from outside, but he doesn't have the size that Marvin Bagley does. Mm-hmm. He can't quite match up the same way offensively, with a lot of these teams in the Western Conference that Marvin Bagley can. So whether you like it or not as a Kings fan, whether you want Marvin Bagley on this team or not, he is going to be an integral part of this team's success this season if he's on the roster. There's no way around it. He just has to be.
Yeah, and you got to look at reality here, guys. We're the Sacramento Kings. We're not the LA Lakers. We don't sign big-name free agents. We don't have the number 2 pick every other year. This was our guy. We chose him. We chose him over Luka Doncic. So you either need to roll with the punches and see what Marvin Bagley's got, or you got to move on. And we have one more year that we are able to see what Marvin has, see if he can contribute to this team. Otherwise, we potentially will be moving on. So I see it's one last rodeo with this squad, with Marvin Bagley, see what happens. This is if he doesn't get traded for that unknown guy that I did not mention earlier. It's going to be an exciting season. I know I'm excited. I know Calvin's excited. Please let us know down below in the comments how you feel about Marvin Bagley, what Kings fans could expect from him this upcoming season, and what you might think might happen. But we want to thank you all again for joining us on another episode of the Royal Rebounds Podcast. Make sure you hit that like button down below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to join the Royal family. And make sure you hit that cowbell down below to find out when Calvin and I put out a new video.
That's
Anything
right.
you want to say, Calvin, to end it?
We're excited for the season. It's only a few weeks away. You can tell Barry and I are more and more amped up every time we get in here. October 4th, preseason starts against the Suns.
Yep.
That's the first day that we're going to get a look at our new look Kings, and we're ready to go here. So
Thanks
guys.
For
watching.
We'll see you in the next one. In the meantime, go Kings.
Go Kings.